Awesome. Great. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Unlocking MBA Scholarships webinar. My name is Tomola Biodun. I'm also known as Anu, and I will be taking you on this, I would say, workshop or webinar today. I would go through few things. We'll go through a little bit about Tatiana Consulting. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll go into the webinar. For some of you, you might have access to the chat box. Some of you might not have access to the chat box. If you don't have access to the chat box and you want to ask a question, please just raise your hand using the raise your hand feature on Teams, and I would call you. If you have access to the chat box, please go ahead and type your questions in the chat if you do have access. I believe everybody should have access to the chat box. Awesome. Great. So my name is Tomola Biodun. I'm the founder of Tatiana Consulting. I'm also a senior product manager at Microsoft in the security organization. I graduated from my MBA in 2019 from the Ohio State University Fisher College of Business. And I have been working at Microsoft since then. And I've also launched Tatiana Consulting since then. So Tatiana Consulting is a 5-year-old, I would say, toddler company at this point. And it's been a very interesting ride. I don't know if a lot of you know about Tatiana Consulting, if you've heard about us before, or you're hearing about us for the first time. But the reason why we exist and why Tatiana Consulting actually exists is born out of my own experiences, the challenges that I have faced, and my desire to ensure that people do not face the same challenges that I've faced and people do not make the same mistakes that I have made. Because it's very, very important that you learn from the mistake of others, because that will save you a lot of time, that will save you a lot of resources, and you don't end up in the same position or in the same awkward position people ahead of you have ended up. I mean, it's important to give people a platform to actually thrive and do better than you have done. And that's the reason why Tatiana Consulting does exist. So our focus is, how do we be the plug that connects like young professionals and students to always be ready for their next career, next academic opportunities. My goal is to help students tell their stories better, identify opportunities for growth, and learn how to connect their past to their future, their past, their present to their future. Basically, learn how to prepare yourself for opportunities that you might get in the future. For a lot of people, they have missed out on a lot of opportunities. And it's not because they were not good enough, it's just because they were not ready and they were not prepared. And if an opportunity does present itself and you're not prepared for that opportunity, the opportunity is going to go to the next person. So see Tatiana Consulting as that school, as that wheelhouse that prepares you for those opportunities, so that when those opportunities actually appear for you, you are actually 100% prepared and you'll be the best person for the job, or for the scholarship, or for the role. Now, Tatiana Consulting is divided into two arms. We have the graduate admissions coaching, and we have graduate career and young professionals coaching. For the purpose of this webinar, we will be focusing on the graduate admissions coaching aspect, because I believe most people here are interested in attending business school next year or maybe in 2026. So I'll be focusing just on our graduate admissions coaching and services. But a few of our success stories, our clients have gotten admissions into several schools. I would say for the top 50 business schools, we have at least gotten clients into more than 40 of them, at least more than 40 of them. We have clients everywhere. And for our companies, these are just a few companies, but our clients have gotten roles, I think over 200 offers at this point across different Fortune 500 companies in the United States, Canada, and also in Africa. So if your desire is to grow your career in Africa and West Africa, there are also huge opportunities there if that's your desire. And we have supported clients in landing roles, those kind of coveted roles also. So just a little bit about what we do from the admissions perspective. Currently, we are offering the MBA admissions bootcamp to students from West Africa and Africa as a whole. The MBA admissions bootcamp is a 4-week 2-hour per week accelerated bootcamp that covers all of the anchors of the MBA application and admissions process. So from selecting your schools to resume, to recommendation letters, to essays, to MBA interviews, to waitlist strategies, everything is covered. It's a live class, so you're going to be in a cohort of like minds like you. You're also going to be added to like a WhatsApp group, a Teams group. You have access to your resources for the entire period before you get into business school. So the only difference with this bootcamp is you don't get any one-on-one personalized service. However, if you are interested in having like document reviews, or you're interested in having like one-on-one services with me, that's going to be something different. We also offer one-on-one comprehensive package where you are going to be working with me or a consultant 100%, and you are not going to be in classes with anybody. Now, I actually do prefer the class because it gives you some form of motivation. It allows you know that there are other people that are trying to do the same thing as you're doing. And I think it actually does keep you accountable. So when people ask me, oh, which of the services should they go for? I always tell them go for the blended service. So go for the boot camp. And in addition to the boot camp, you can decide to get a few of your documents reviewed, because all of the brainstorming sessions and everything will be done in the boot camp anyways. We've had huge success with our clients landing full rides in top business schools, and also landing admissions also in top business schools. And from a career perspective, we have landed great success in our clients actually landing internship interviews and offers before they even get into business school, right? I'm sure that by probably January or February, when you all already probably have your admissions and you are thinking about what you do from a career perspective, and then we will talk a little bit more about the career opportunities that actually do exist for you to accelerate your growth with Titan Consulting. So that wasn't too long. I just spent about 7 minutes talking about myself, so that was not too long. So strategies for securing your funding. When it comes to scholarships and funding, this is one thing that a lot of people actually do bother about. It's something that is top of mind for everybody, especially if you're coming from, like, if you're an international student, yes, one. Even if you're not an international student, the MBA is very, very, very expensive. If you ask me, I would say the MBA is a very huge investment, which is a very, very valuable investment, right? A lot of times I tell people, if you don't give anything, you can't get anything back. How exactly do you convince people to invest in you if you cannot invest in yourself? So I totally agree with the point of the MBA is expensive because of the return on your investment that you're going to get after the MBA. The entire 2-year experience, if you're going for a 2-year program, the immersive experience, the opportunities that will be available to you after the MBA is actually do what the cost, if you ask me. However, not everybody is fortunate, or not everybody has the resources to be able to pay for this school fees, especially maybe where based off of the country that they live, based off of the devaluation of their currency, and so many other issues that they might be facing. People might not be able to afford the MBA school fees. And now, one good thing about the MBA program, at least I know the MBA programs in the United States and a few of them in the European market, a lot of the MBA programs actually do have scholarship opportunities. And this is because a lot of people who have gone through the MBA program have done so well that they're actually contributing back to the school. They're paying it forward, they're giving back to the school. So a lot of the scholarships that people actually do get, they are based off of donor funds. So people that have attended the schools, parents of students that have attended the schools are the ones that are actually paying those fees. So don't think that, oh, they're just giving anybody for free. Somebody is paying for that. It's an investment that somebody else is making in your own life. So it's not a free thing, it's an investment. So you need to see it as an investment. And I know that's something that a lot of us actually are very interested in. My story, I got the Scholarship for Africa. Is given to one African student every year at my university, Ohio State, in the business school, actually. So I got the Scholarship for Africa, and it was great. I had donors that actually supported the scholarship, and I got the full ride, my tuition covered, living expenses covered. It was really, really very amazing for me. I wouldn't have thought that I would have gotten that if I did not actually put in the work. Right then, during the entire application process, Fisher required me to take the TOEFL or the GRE. They required me to send my test scores before my application would be reviewed. I did all of that. I had a lot of people that said, "Oh no, I can't do this. Oh, I can't spend extra money. I can't do this." What do you mean you can't spend extra money? Think about it. You are investing. Yes, a lot of times, sometimes our investment do not actually yield the results that we want, but that's what it is. It's an investment. An investment is a probability. You have to take a chance on yourself. If you don't take a chance on yourself, nobody's going to take a chance on you. And that's why when I talk to people about, oh, these are Titanial Consulting services, and people are like, oh, can I get it for free? I'm just like, I'm sorry. Are you playing with me? No, because this is an investment in my time, in my investment in yourself. And if you don't think you actually are worth an investment, why should I invest in you? Why should a school invest in you? Why should a company invest in you? Because you can't even invest in yourself. And I make this joke to say that some of the fees for a lot of things that people are meant to pay for, they're not even up to the amount of money people are going to spend, like in a club, or the amount of money they're going to spend going to a concert. But they're okay doing that, but you cannot afford to invest in yourself. Okay, all right. Tatiana Services, did you? Okay, you didn't raise your hand. Okay, so if you're not okay investing in yourself, like I've said, people cannot invest in you. Schools cannot invest in you. No one can invest in you. So you need to prioritize investing in yourself to get anything from this entire process. And this is also because people that have not invested in themselves, a lot of times when I see a lot of students that have chosen not to invest in themselves, and not investing just not just in money terms, but actually investing in themselves, like time, resources, ensuring that they prioritize the right things for themselves. People that have never invested in themselves, they do not make it in the MBA program. And I know you guys have this amazing idea of, oh, you can get into the MBA program in the United States, and after that, you get a job here, you get a job there. That is for people that invest in themselves, invest in themselves from a timing perspective, from a resources perspective, from I'll say from an intelligence perspective and a studying perspective, right? People that prioritize are the ones that make it. A lot of people, especially this last set, that did not invest in themselves, they believed everything was going to happen for them. They're struggling, and most of them would struggle to the end of time because they haven't invested in themselves. So if you think that the MBA program in the US is just something that you just walk around and everything is just going to happen, it's just going to be all rosy. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not going to be all rosy for you. It's not. You have to invest in yourself. You have to show that you are interested in putting in the work one way or the other for it to work out for you. Right. So I just needed to put that out there because I don't want to sell any sub story or any fake stories that a lot of other people sell to say, oh, don't worry, it's going to be fine. It's going to be easy. Once you get it here, like your life will just change sporadically. No, no. People that their lives change, they walk like they want their life to change. And if you're not there yet in your life, in your career, if you're not there yet mentally, then maybe it's not the right fit for you. Have to be there mentally. And it's not just, oh, I want to leave my home country, because a lot of people believe their home country is on fire right now. If that is your goal, I don't think coming for the MBA is the right place for you to come to. I'm not going to lie to you, because you're not coming for the right reasons. You don't even have a goal. You don't even have a reason. You don't have a passion. You're not even excited about what you're coming to do. The MBA program is intense. It is immersive, and is only for serious-minded people who know where they want to be in the future, who actually are very, very focused. So if you are not in that category, maybe it's time for you to take a few steps back, reevaluate what you actually want in life, and go with the path that is interesting to you. But if you just think you just come here and then you just move things together, you know, the way you just I don't know what they call it, just move things together and just believe that that's going to work out for you. No, it would not. It would not. And I'm not going to lie to you. You will eventually figure it out that it would not. But if you're going to put in the work, definitely, of course. If you would invest in yourself, your resources, definitely, yes. So then let's put that out there so you all know, not to scare you, but it's not a joke. It's not like a child's play or anything like that. And I'm not going to sell you a sub story about how life is going to be all rosy just when you just do one tiny thing and then everything just blossom. No, it doesn't work like that. Hard work is still hard work. Good. So there are a few things that play into funding decisions for schools. Four things, 5 things actually. Your application round. The round you apply to school plays a very, very key decision into funding. Your own profile, the class profile of the former class, and the class profile of your own class, that's the people applying, the available funding, and then the school policy. Those are 5 key things that go into funding decisions. There are a few things that you might be able to control. For example, the application round, and your profile. But all of the other three, like the class profile, available funding, and school policy, you cannot necessarily control that because that's like beyond you, right? How do you control the class profile, the class profile of the previous class? In fact, the class profile of the previous class is even easier actually to acclimatize yourself with, because if you see, oh, okay, I already have the class profile for the class of 2024. I already know like, okay, what their average test score is, what their average undergraduate GPA is. I can see how I can benchmark myself. But the class profile of the class applying, you don't know. You cannot possibly know all the people applying with you, right? So those things form like part of the considerations of if you would get good funding or not. So I'll start with the application round. I think I would go through I would think I'll take the application round last because I have the slide for that. But for the remaining, I will go through every other thing. So from a school policy perspective, I'll start from that. From a school policy perspective, so different schools are different. There are some schools that have policies to say that our goal for the MBA program is not to be profitable. And actually, a lot of MBA programs are actually not profitable. So they might be like, oh, our goal is not exactly to be profitable. Our goal is not to make money. We have a different goal, right? And because it's still a business, there are ways in which even if a company or a school does not make money from a particular program, they can make money from another program, and the influence of the program they are not making money from could actually impact the program that they are making money from. So that depends on the school, that depends on their policy, and that depends on their strategy. You never really know what the policy of the school is because they're not just going to come and tell you what their policy is, but you can figure it out based off of conversations that you're going to be having with like current students, with alums. You can figure it out with conversations that you're having with current students and alums over the period, and also what you have read about the school. So if you have spoken to a couple of students, and most of the students you've spoken to, maybe or that you know that have attended the school over like maybe 4 or 5 years, they've all gotten like 50% funding of it. They've all gotten like 70% funding. And you can see their profile and you can see, oh, their profile is very similar to yours. And even if you've seen somebody else's, that their profile is actually much better than those people, but they're still getting around the same scholarship range, that means that probably the school has a policy not to give more than a particular amount so that they can give almost everybody. Because some schools are like, oh, we'll just give a few people maybe just 100% and every other person takes a loan or something. But there are some schools that will say that, okay, let's kind of split it across board. You can't know, but you can figure it out from the conversations that you have with like students and just you thinking and trying to figure things out. Now, one thing that I want you to actually know that is actually weird is, I know some of you speak to admissions committee and you speak to students. The first thing like that you are saying to somebody when you meet the person for the first time should not be, do you have scholarships? Put yourself in their shoes. Somebody comes to meet you the first time. I'm like, oh, do you have money? First of all, you need, like, the person needs something from you. What the person is going to get from you is going to help the person's life. But the person is just saying, oh, can you help me pay for this thing? If I were the admissions team, I would personally not admit you, not even talking about not even giving you funding. I would personally not admit you because you're not a serious person. Simple. Why would that be the first question you would ask somebody when you meet the person? It's very, very inappropriate, right? So that's not the first question you should ask somebody. Oh, do you have funding? What does that even mean? Who are you to start with? Right? What's your profile? What do you bring to the table that you're asking somebody else how they would help you? Like, is this a begging house? Or like what's the entire what are we all doing here? Right? So it's very, very inappropriate. And if that's the first question that you're asking me, like if somebody reaches out to me from an alum and tells me, oh, well, do you have funding? I will not even take you seriously. And depending on how I feel, I will probably say, I don't think you're a good fit. Because that means you're not even thinking more about, oh, how exactly can the school help me develop? What can I even give to the school? Right? How do I portray my value to the school? All you're just saying is, oh, help me, help me, help me. That's begging. It's giving begging. You don't want to look like that, right? You want to be seen as a serious person, like a serious human being that you are, and not just begging all around. So please, your first conversation that you have with people is not to be asking them about funding, if they have money in the school, if they give funding. No. Come, like, do your research and don't ask questions that are available online. Actually do your research. Figure out, oh, what's this school's focus? What do they have? Identify what your own focus is, what you are interested in. Ask questions that will talk about harmonizing like the value that you bring, the value that the school provides, right? Talk in a way that they will be so interested in ensuring that you get into their program. And at the end of the day, people that they like, right? I mean, your profile has to be good, but people hire people they like. That's it. People admit people they like. People admit people that they think will be a good fit for the program. And you showing that you're a good fit for the program is one thing that you have value to bring to the program. If I was supposed to give anybody any scholarship on my own, I would give the most valuable candidate. How do you portray that you're a valuable candidate? It's not by begging for money up and down. That's not how you portray you're a valuable candidate. You can get that information elsewhere. Like maybe you have spoken to a couple of students and you have spoken to this student like 2-3 times, and then you can just ask the student, oh, were they able to get any funding? You would eventually get there through the, I would say, relationship building and development, but not the first thing that you would say. Please don't be awkward. Please don't. It's weird. Don't do it. Then the other one is available funding. Now, schools get different funding every year, right? Based off of funding that is available for them, basically. So some schools have a lot of funding this year. Some schools don't have that much funding next year. And you can't really tell because this funding is provided by This funding is provided by people like you who graduated maybe a few years ago. That's it. So there's no way you can really determine, oh, if there's going to be a lot of funding. So based off of the funding that they have for this year, and based off of how they plan to allocate their funding, then there might be opportunities for scholarships for you or maybe no scholarships for you. Now, based off of their class profile, right, there are some schools that are very big on certain things. Some schools are big on innovation. Some schools are big on paying it forward. Some schools are big on supply chain. Some schools have different things that they are big on. Now, based off of the things that they are big on, some of those things carry valuable weights. So even if you're a great candidate overall, right, if you have not exhibited a lot of those values that they're really big on, that they're really passionate about, then you might not really stack really high when it comes to the scholarships that they want to offer, right? So you need to figure out how exactly do I stack with the class profile, at least the class profile of the former class that is available in the website. You cannot know the one of the incoming class. Now, one thing that you cannot really change is the profile of the incoming class. So right now, this is going to be an incoming class of 2027 that you're all going to get into school in 2025. You're going to graduate in 2027. You cannot know because it's not just the profile of the people from your home country, everybody's profile. So how do you know the profile of everybody? You can get like an idea based off of all of these people's undergraduate GPA, the average test scores now, but you cannot really tell. So what you can do is to make sure that your profile stacks really, really high on based off of your own work. Now, there are a few things that you might not be able to like change, like your test scores. I mean, you can improve your test scores to an extent. You can change your undergraduate GPA, the type of experience you have. If you have maybe 1 or 2 years of experience, then you can improve that by actually working for another 1 or 2 years. I tell people you need 3 years of experience, but a lot of people are like, oh no, the country is burning. And like, what are you talking about? Like, if you want to come for an MBA and you're an international student, it makes the most sense to get 3 years of experience as of when you are starting school. So if you have 2 years right now, maybe 2 years last month, that's fantastic. That's because you'll be 3 years by August. So that's good because a lot of companies want you to have at least 3 years of experience to improve your chances of landing a job with a company that would sponsor you if you're an international student. If you're a domestic student, of course, like you're fine, right? For some domestic students have 2 years of experience and they actually do get very good opportunities, but there's no need rushing. You need to think long term. You need to have the right strategies and think long term. And if you're not the kind of person that actually does follow the right process, you would struggle. So this is not a rush thing. You must follow the right process. Everything is a due process. If you don't follow the right process, you will struggle. And that's why for most of my clients, if you're a rush person, you reach out to me, you're like, oh, I just want to leave my country. I will not even take you up because I don't want that kind of pressure, right? That means you're not even a serious. So if you actually think that, oh, the country is, but what did you do in the last 7 years? What have you done for yourself in the last 7 years? What were you doing? When people were walking, what were you doing? You were playing, you were faffing around. And now all of a sudden, everything is just, oh, boom. Doesn't make any sense. No. You need to follow the process. If you were playing when others were walking, right now you would walk, right? And you will pay your dues, right? Before things can actually work out in the direction that you want it to work out. But if you just think things will just go like that and blow just because you're in some desperate mode, Titanic Consulting is not the best for you, because I don't do desperate. I do not. I do not do desperate. I do people that are actually serious and are committed and know what they want to do. Because as you can see, I will not, I can really tell, like I can tell from my initial interaction with you, I can tell, right? And if I can tell, admissions teams can tell. And while a few people might have been able to get in, it's not going to happen like that going forward. It's going to be much more of a serious process, right, going forward. Now, a few other things that you can do to actually improve your own profile, though, is now in your admissions interviews, your essays, and your recommendation letters, most especially your essays and your admission interviews. Please, I understand the entire generative AI thing, but you using a generative AI platform to write your entire essays is so shoddy, very unprofessional, and actually very ridiculous. So you want to write an essay and you just type the question, and then the Gen AI just comes up with the entire answer, and you just copy and paste that and put that in a school application. First of all, there are platforms now that can tell if your essay is written by Gen AI. I do have that. So even if you're my client, I take your essay through the system, I would see that this was written 90% by Gen, and I will send it back to you. Simple. However, Gen AI solutions are great. You can use them for brainstorming. You can use them to check for maybe grammar. You can use them to check for structure and things like that. You can even use them to explain what you have written. But you need to have the idea in your head. Your essays must anchor on a problem you are trying to solve. Your essays cannot be bland. They cannot be generic. And your essays cannot just be the traditional essays. Now, I know a few people, I think a lot of people here, a few, I don't know, actually come from West Africa. Please, can you stop selling the sub story of how you walked 10 miles to school? Maybe your parents did, but most of you did not. So you don't have to sell a poverty story. Because there are some people I talk to, I'm like, you're not poor. Yes, you're not billionaires, but you are not poor. You don't have to tell a poverty story. You don't have to tell the sub stories. Those stories are already boring and they've already seen too many of it. So if you are telling a story, let it be a genuine story, right? While some of you genuinely grew up in poverty, a lot of people that actually are thinking of coming for MBA are actually privileged people to an extent. So you did not grow up on the street. So you don't have to say you grew up on the street if you did not grow up on the street. If you did, okay. But even if you grew up on the street, why are you still hammering on that? What else have you done? What else has happened in your life in the last 20 years that you can actually think through and say, oh, I want to improve, I want to make better, I want to solve this problem. So your essays should show that you're trying to solve a problem. Your essays should show that this person is very, very, very passionate about fixing things and paying it forward. Because at the end of the day, remember, like I said, most of the people that provide these funds are students like you that graduated decades ago. So if you are not going to be that student that will contribute in the next couple of years, why would the school take you? Why would they give you a scholarship? Because you're not even putting yourself in that position where you would help other people in the future. So your essays should call out those things. They should show those things. If not, you're just going to be the average candidate just writing generic essays for everybody. That's going to be very boring. And then your MBA admissions interviews, like I always say, you can't wing things. When I speak to people and I say, have you practiced for your interview? I said, no, don't worry, it's me, I can talk. I don't understand. Did they tell you that the people that are going for the other they cannot talk? Like everybody can talk, right? You can talk, yes. So, but are you saying your stories using the star format? Are you anchoring on the right competencies in your stories? Do your stories meet the right limit? Are you using the right actions? The stories that you are telling, do they have metrics? Do they have quantifiable result? Do the stories actually connect 100% to the question being asked? Right? Are you very, very confident when you are saying those stories? For a lot of you, your MBA admission interviews are horrible, very, very horrible. And there is no way you can get in and get good funding if your admission interviews are not good. I've spoken to a lot of people that their interviews are bad. Even if they have great profiles, their interviews are bad. And you know why? Because they didn't practice. There is nothing that you cannot skip the practice process. You cannot. If you don't practice for your interviews, you don't practice, you will not get it, because there is somebody that has spent every day for the last 3 months prepping for that interview. I don't know how much magic or how much, don't worry, I can get it done, that you would do, that you would beat somebody who has actually followed the process and has actually been consistent with practicing. So if you're not consistent, you can't get it. And that's how you actually do stand out. There are people that their test scores have been they've been very, very average, but they did so well in the admissions interviews. Not only did they get admitted, they actually got good funding. So you don't want to be mumbling your words together. You need to make sure that, they can hear what you're saying. Your admission interviews are actually saying the right things. Like what you are saying, your stories are saying the right things, and they align with the values of the school. So think about all of those things. Those are the things that go into the entire funding decision. And of course, your application round. So I think I've shared this slide several times, so most of you would see the application round. For most of you, early application is already gone, because for a lot of schools, the early application was like, I think, middle of September. I think some of them even had first week of September to end of September. And then you have round one. Round one is in October for a lot of schools. Now, depending on the school, some schools have their round one or round two around November, December. Now, most schools round two is in January, but some schools have round three also in February. It depends on the school, right? Now, when it comes to funding, the earlier you apply, more funds that you get. However, funding and applying to school is a combination of speed and quality. Don't apply early with a nonsense application. You will not get anything. Neither admission nor scholarship, nothing. You will not get anything, right? So even if you're going to be applying in the first round, you need to make sure that you're putting in the right application. You're putting in everything required of you, that your application is of the highest quality. Because if your application is not of the highest quality, it's kind of hard, right? But yes, if you have a very great application, I would always suggest that you submit it in the first round, because the first round increases your chances of funding, because there's more funding available in the first round. Although schools always say that, we have good amount of funding in the first round, only also by second round, but it's easier to get more money if you apply in the first round versus other rounds, right? I think second round is still okay, but when you start thinking about third round, fourth round, it becomes like a lot of times the funding is actually pretty much exhausted and you don't have any money anymore. Now, I already did come up with this range. This is the average range of like top programs, the GMAT, the GRE, the average undergraduate GPA, the average age, years of experience. Now, this is average, right? However, there's some people that are below average and some people that are above average. So because you are not within the average in everything does not mean that you do not stand a very good chance. No, I was below the average age of enrollment when I joined, and that's fine. A lot of people were way below the average age. That's okay. The younger you are, the better it is for you, actually, right? Under my undergraduate GPA was good. My years of experience was within range, and my GRE was not as high. It was not, but I had other things working out for me, right? So that's totally also fine, right? And I think I mentioned this the last time. If you're from West Africa, do not try to do test fraud. Don't do it. If you do it, you'll be caught. Schools know, they are aware. Even if they did not put in any publication, they are aware. If you get in, they will send you out of the program. Just don't do it. Don't even think about doing it. But if you do it, you get caught. And I know, trust me. So if you do it, veterinary consulting is not the best place for you to come, because I would tell you immediately that your test is fake. Don't do that with me. Don't do it with me. Don't do it with me. Don't. I'm not like, don't even bring it to me, because it's not going to be acceptable by me. So don't do it. Now, we have different types of scholarships. So I will go into these different types of scholarships so you all know the types of scholarships that are available, and then you know how to position yourself. Now, when it comes to funding, a lot of people always ask, oh, do I need to put in a different application? For most of the MBA programs, your scholarship application is within your school application. You don't even have any additional scholarship application. For some schools, they include like some scholarship essays, like, oh, if you want to be considered for a scholarship, please include your details, include more details here, write a story about this here, if you want to be included, right? But for most schools, you just have your normal short and long-term goals and everything. For most schools, you just have that, your normal short and long-term goals. But for a lot of other schools, they might ask you to include, or if you're thinking about being considered for this particular scholarship, or we have this particular association in the school, if you're interested in being considered. Yeah. So the first type, which is merit-based, all schools, and I don't think I've mentioned it in school, all schools can provide you 100% or zero. If you go to every school, right, you would see somebody that has gotten 100% and you see somebody that has gotten zero. Now, this does not mean that the people, like if you go to a school that, oh, plenty of people have gotten 100, no, it might just be one person, right? Now, this is now what determines, oh, does this school give a lot of funding? That's how many people here have gotten good scholarships, right? Versus how many people have gotten average scholarships versus how many people have gotten no scholarships. So the first one is just merit-based. Merit-based is based off of your how your own candidate profile stacks with the class profile vis-a-vis the amount of funding that they have. That's merit-based funding. For most MBA programs, they are all merit-based. I feel that there might be a few programs that give need-based, but I think that's more like federal scholarships for, or federal, I don't know, funding opportunities for maybe citizens and green card holders. But as an international student, it's mostly merit-based funding. They don't do like need-based, it's merit-based. So how does your candidate profile stack up with the class profile, the incoming class profile, right? Have you done everything required of you, right? Did you network really well, right? During a lot of your networking events, are you asking the right questions or are you just being quiet? Like, think about it. Like, if I go somewhere, I'm thinking about, oh, admitting a few students, I get into sessions with these students, I'm presenting, and nobody's asking questions. I wouldn't even like if you put in your application, like this person, I'm not too sure about this person. So this person cannot actually hold an intellectual conversation. This person cannot think through a question that they should ask. Maybe this person is not a good fit for the school, or maybe this person is not a good fit for the scholarship. Maybe we should give the person 5% or 0%. But that student that constantly asks questions, intelligent questions, or not questions that are available, not answers, questions to answers that are available online, that person is already putting themselves out there to actually be considered for a lot of opportunities because the person is speaking, the person is talking. Especially if you're coming to the United States, they want you to talk. They want you to speak. They want you to be heard. They want to hear you talk. They don't want somebody that their mouth is closed. So in the little conversations that you're having with these people, if your mouth is constantly closed, that means you're not even interested in anything. Like, maybe you should just close your mouth and stay where you are. I'm serious. So you need to speak. You need to be prepared ahead. You need to think about what kind of questions would I ask, right? When I get into this kind of conversations, you need to think about that and ask those questions. So those are the things that actually fall under like the merit-based funding. Then we now have graduate assistantships. Now, the big thing about a lot of the US schools are we have GAs. Graduate assistantships are not just normally teaching assistantship. So you don't have to be a teaching assistant. You can just be a normal graduate assistant. Maybe you work for Office of Career Services, you work for admissions. Now, this is divided into two. There are some graduate assistantships that are given during your admission. There are some graduate assistantships that you get when you already get into school. Now, the difference between merit-based and graduate assistantship is a lot of the merit-based funding, they are not tied to any work hours. You are just giving funding, right? Oh, I'm giving you 70% scholarship. I'm giving you $50,000 scholarship. It's not tied to funding. It's not tied to anything. It's not tied to anything. It's not tied to work, rather. It's not tied to your work hours. You know, as an international student, you can work 20 hours a week maximum. It's not tied. But for your graduate assistantships, a lot of your graduate assistantships are actually tied to work hours. So you can get like a 10-hour a week graduate assistantship, 15-hour a week graduate assistantship, 20-hour a week graduate assistantship. Some of these graduate assistantships, they are also evaluated based off of merit, but some all or some part of your tuition is waived because you are going to be committing yourself to working for the school, right? So there are some schools that actually do not have any merit-based funding. All they have is graduate assistantship. They'll give you money, but you're going to work. While some schools have a combination of both merit-based funding and graduate assistantships. Now, another difference is for some merit-based funding, you just have like the tuition. They give you scholarship for some part of the tuition or all parts of the tuition, but you don't get stipends, right? But a lot of the graduate assistantships come with stipends because you are working, right? So even if they have waived part of your tuition, they will give you some stipend, like salary, basically. But while a lot of the merit-based funding don't have stipend attached to it. Then we now have university fellowships. University fellowships are for the entire university. Remember that your business school is within the university. So university has like fellowship programs offered to graduate schools, like graduate schools across the university. So those university fellowships do have certain requirements, right? So for some of these university fellowships, they ask you during your application, do you want to be considered for this fellowship? Some of them might actually come with like certain maybe requirements, maybe to write an extra essay, do something extra. Some of them might come with that, while some might not, right? Some of these university fellowships actually do give like stipends. Some of them, right? Because every school is different and they don't necessarily come with like graduate assistantships, but that's also depends. They will not have donor-based funding. So there are specific scholarships that are tied to people's names, right? Even though all of this, you're like your merit-based, graduate assistantships, everything, even though it's funded by donor money, there are some that the names of the donor, they're very, very, very specific because the donors will be very specific to say, oh, I want to give 3 people, I want to give 2 people, I want to sponsor 1 person per year. So the donor does have a lot of influence over who they give or who they do not give. So for some of these donor-based funding, some of them you have to write you need an extra application in your entire application process, which is maybe writing an extra essay, but some maybe they do not need. Now, for some of these donor-based funding, they actually are tied to maybe an experience that you have. So some of them might be something, maybe Abiodu Entrepreneurship Scholarship or Abiodu something scholarship. And that is tied to somebody that has met a particular requirement, maybe something similar to the profile of the donor, right? So you have those donor-based scholarships. Now we now have organizational-based scholarships. Organizational-based scholarships are like organizations like National Black MBA, Prospanica, Rumba, Forte scholarships. So now these organizational-based scholarships are divided into two. Some of these, or all of these organizations do have partnerships with all of these schools. So there is a funding mechanism where the organization and the school actually fund a particular part of your program. So that's why if some people get scholarship, they'll say, oh, this is a National Black Scholarship. This is a Forte scholarship through the school. Where in your in your offer letter, you say, oh, you've been granted the Forte scholarship of $100,000 or $50,000. So for that one, for a lot of schools, you don't even have to do anything extra. Like National Black is for Black students. If your school has like a National Black scholarship attached to it, they can actually just say, oh, you've been given this National Black scholarship. Now, the other part of the organizational-based scholarships are you would get the scholarship outside of the school. So I know National Black does have like external scholarships that you actually can apply for on your own. Some of the scholarships are not a lot, but you can apply for it on your own. So those are like other organizational-based scholarships that do not come in through the application process for the MBA. Now, before we go into the Q&A, there are other types of scholarships. So we have external scholarships, right? And that's not written here. Now, external scholarships are scholarships that are very external to the school, right? For some people, I think for the people from Nigeria, I think there's a 7-Up scholarship for Harvard. There's a T.Y. Dajima scholarship for, I think, some top schools. So we have some external scholarships that you can actually apply for. Empower does have some scholarships. So those are external scholarships that are not hinged on the school, but that means another body will be paying all or part of your fees, right? So those are like the external scholarships that we have available. So I'm done with, I think, like my presentation. I would open it up for Q&A. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask, please go ahead and ask the questions. And while I'm waiting for you to raise your hand or type a question in the chat box, I'll be sharing with you the link to our MBA admissions bootcamp. So we are currently in the September bootcamp because this bootcamp happens every month. If you want to join the October bootcamp and you're interested in the October bootcamp, we would be including the link to the bootcamp in this chat. We'll be including the link to the bootcamp in this chat. So you can just go and register for the Admit MBA bootcamp. It's 4 weeks. 2 hours, 2.5 hours every week to cover all of the anchors of the entire MBA process. And if you're also interested in an MBA profile evaluation, so we are offering free profile evaluations. It's a 20-minute session where you get to talk about yourself, what your profile is, what your interests are. Then we can tell you if we think you're going to be a good fit for the program, or we think maybe you should do a few things to improve your profile, or we think you can just go ahead and just apply. We'll be able to offer you that. So those are the two links that we'll be including in the chat. So now I'm opening this up to questions. Does anybody have any questions, or do we have all of the information that we need regarding funding and scholarships? Okay, so Anu, you raised your hand. Can you ask the question, please? You can come on mute.
Hi. Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Sorry, where I am.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the session, Anolua.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really, really wonderful. I'm able to understand so many things that I had questions about before. So down to my question, I plan on going for the MBA. That's 2026, September
Okay.
2026. So
Okay.
going by this, when do you think would be the best time for me to have the boot camp and all of that, and the OP
Okay.
preparation, right test, and everything? I don't know
Okay.
if it's part of the whole paid question, but I
Okay.
just want to have an idea of when is the best
Okay.
time here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we can do a profile evaluation for you. Once we include the link in the chat box, you can do a profile evaluation. But when it comes to the best time for you to start like the boot camp, I would say maybe joining the boot camp next year. June's boot camp will be the best time for you from a boot camp perspective. However, for writing your exam perspective, the best time for you to write your exam is any time from now. So I always say that it takes about 3 to 6 months for people to practice really well for their exam, depending on you and depending on your quantitative abilities. So I always say first, take a sample test, irrespective of if you have, of how good you are, just take a sample test. When you take a sample test, you know, oh, how much work do I require? So I know if you take a sample test now and you're already getting like around the average score that the school is giving, I would say it makes sense for you to try to take it within 3 months because your test score is valid for 5 years anyways. So that's good. You have test score valid for 5 years, right? I don't want you rushing to take your test like when it's like a week to August. Like a lot of people push out their test till when they are trying to apply, then it becomes too overwhelming. Yeah. Sorry, please, if you're joining, please put yourself on mute, please. Thank you. So a lot of people move their test to when it's really, really very, very late. So I wouldn't want you to do that. But I would advise you take a sample test. Once you take a sample test, you know where you are. Then you can now decide, oh, okay, maybe I will take my test in a few weeks or in a few months. But if it is to join the boot camp, I think that will be from June of next year because you're trying to resume July of 2026.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, yeah. And the link for the free profile evaluation is actually also in the chat. So you can just do that and schedule. Okay. So Ayomide said that for the donor-based and the organizational-based scholarships, are the recipients under any form of obligation? Okay, now, so this depends. This depends. So for a lot of if the donor-based, for the donor-based, some of their obligations actually are the donor will invite you to 3 donor events during your school year, you should actually attend the donor event. They will invite you to have lunch with them, those kind of obligations, right? If the donor are like US-based donors or the donors for your country, right? Now, some of these organizational-based scholarships, now like National Black, Roomba, Prospanica, some of their requirements might be, oh, maybe you continue to advocate for like National Black, nothing tying you to anything. However, for some of the national organizational scholarships, so that means if you are getting like a scholarship from your country and it's an organization that is sponsoring you, they might have different obligations. I don't know. Because I know Chevney does have an obligation for you coming back. Like if you get a Chevening European scholarship, you have to come back for 2 years or something like that. So that's going to be based off of the organization. But for like the US-based organizations, right, for a lot of them, you don't have that requirement to come back. Although there's some other things, and I don't think it's really MBA specific. That's when you get a J1 visa, maybe Fulbright. That's not really MBA specific. So I would say for a lot of the MBA scholarships, except you are getting it from your home country, the obligations are obligations that you have to fulfill in the school, right? Like for me, my scholarship for Africa, I needed to talk to a lot of African students and I needed to convince them to attend to apply to Ohio State, things like that, those kind of obligations, right? Then Afiniki, you are 37 years old. Yes, you are way above the average age, to be honest. And there are some schools that will not take you, to be honest. I'm not going to lie to you about that. You would need to actually look through schools that have taken much older candidates to increase your chances. Because at that age, even if you started working at 25, for example, if you were like on the older side, or if you were the younger side and started working at 19 or something, you've already worked for a long time, almost 20 years. So they're going to be asking you, why don't you want to do an executive MBA? So you need to be able to come up with like the right reasons why you don't want to do an executive MBA, right? And once your years of experience are much, much more than the average class years of experience, sometimes it does hurt recruiting. So you need to be able to come up with like a proper plan and a proper structure. And you need to figure out schools that would admit you without really considering a lot of your age, right? Especially as an international student. So yes, it would, but if you have other things working out for you and they like you, it can help you. Okay, so Kalumi is a lawyer and she would like to know how to navigate from law and get integrated into the MBA. Since you mentioned, yes, the whole program is very intense. But to be fair, like law is like accounting, if you ask me, is rule based, and there are a lot of people. So if you attended like the other webinars that I've had, a lot of people in your class will be lawyers, there will be doctors, there will be nurses, there will be therapists, there will be music teachers, there will be high school teachers. Don't worry about it. In fact, the MBA program actually does want people that come with diverse experiences. Now, if your goal is to come for the MBA and transition into business, so maybe as a lawyer, for example, you're coming for an MBA, your roles post MBA will be like, oh, regulatory, risk management, compliance, those kind of roles. Of course, like I don't see a problem. I don't see how you cannot transition to those roles. You can even work in finance. You can work in investment banking. I don't see how it's hard as a lawyer to transition to those roles. Now, if you're thinking of continuing to practice law, the MBA is not the right place for you, right? Because that's a totally different path, right? So yes, if you're not very good quantitatively, you might struggle a lot in the program, but it's not something that you cannot do because I know people that they never did any serious thing on Excel before they got into the program and they were able to do it. They managed it. So you can do it. It's intense, but with the right mindset, you can do it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Do we have any more questions? Because I don't see any other questions. Here I've answered Pelumi, I've answered Afiniki, and I've answered Ayomide and Anu. Do we have any more questions? Tommy.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for your
Hi.
time.
Hi, Tommy. Good evening.
All right, quick one. My question is going to be in twofold. One, I think I heard you talked about age, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got someone who's got over 10 years experience, perhaps maybe saying
20.
the other 10, 10, 10, 10.
10. Okay, 10. Okay, 10. Okay.
Someone
Okay.
who's got like 10 years experience in the oil and gas industry, or perhaps in any industry with a reputable organization, perhaps an
Yeah.
IOC. and he wants to enroll, and he's done maybe an MSc before, a BSc, and he's got international education, maybe something like PMI Institute and like. What chances has the got, in terms of, this MBA thing? That's one. Then two, for someone who wants to transition from, say, Canada, who's gone to a college in Canada and wants to transition to the US, he wants to come to school, and he did a sustainable business management in one of the college at a master's level anyway, or graduate college in Ontario, and wants to come to US to go to an MBA, and he's way 30. So what chances has those got?
So I would say that, to me, I would say you should actually book a free profile evaluation, because it's a whole lot to unpack. I cannot tell you the chances are high and the chances are low, because I don't understand the entire situation. Everything is going to be based off the other parts of your profile. So this person you've mentioned, okay, what this person has, which seems really good. So there are some schools that are fine with older candidates. A lot of schools are actually fine with it. A lot of the top schools, the top 5 schools, do not want you to be too old. They don't want that. They want to keep their young population. But there are a lot of schools that they don't really mind. So it's going to be about you being able to tell your story well for why you want to come for a full-time MBA. And if you've actually had some people have had like 2 master's degrees, or some people have had a PhD, you need to be able to say why. Because if you've had a PhD, so why are we coming why are you coming for an MBA? Like, what is the reason, right? You need to be able to tell your story really well. And those are the kind of things that we help with at Titan Consulting, the ability to actually tell your story, right? I think that's really very, very important for you. And it's not just about you adding different degrees, right? America is, especially if you're coming to the US, America is a very, very work-based, experience-based versus, you're just accumulating different degrees. It's not, that one it doesn't really move the needle so much, right? The minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree, right? Even for PhDs in the US, the minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree. Everything you have on top of that, that's actually really good, but you need to be able to tell a reason about why you actually did that and how that has helped you improve your work, or improve the value that you bring to the table. So it's very, very value-based. So it's thinking through, what value do you bring to the table? What exactly do you want to do? And then you figure out schools that actually align with those values. Then that increases your chances. And like I've said, I said it all this time in my webinars, there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees with anything. There are no guarantees in life. All you have are probabilistic situations. So whatever work you do increases or decreases your probability. So I'm not going to give you, I do not give any guarantees, because that's only God that gives guarantees. So I cannot give you any guarantees. But whatever you do increases or decreases your the probability of something happening for you, right? So you just have to walk through that and figure out, okay, what are the values that I actually do bring? This is my entire profile. What value does it bring? How can I figure out a school that aligns with the value? And how can I tell my story better? And then your chances increase on the probability table. That's it. But you can go ahead and book a free profile evaluation, and we can talk more about it. So let me see. Is it possible to get scholarships without writing graduate exams? Yes, Bukola, a few people have been able to do that. But like I said, if you're not interested in investing into yourself and putting in the work, why should I invest in you? Me personally, I won't give you. That's just me personally. But I'm not a school. I don't own an MBA program. But I expect that I'm giving somebody who has shown strong dedication, strong diligence, and wants to put in a lot of work, right? While there are a lot of other master's programs that don't require you to have a graduate to take the GRE or GMAT, yes, it's true. There are a lot of them that don't require that. But for the MBS, I would say it increases your chances, not just of getting scholarships, but of getting into the program. There are some people that have great profiles, that they are CFA chartered, they are chartered accountants, they have all of these amazing profiles. They have that, right? And some of them they're able to waive the exam on their behalf. So if you're coming with that kind of profile, I can see that, okay, this person has put in a lot of work. But a lot of people just coming with, my result was not very good in school, but I want a scholarship. And I'm just think about it. Do you want to go and steal it? Except you want to go and steal the scholarship from them. How? Put yourself in your situation. Will you give yourself? So when you think through and say, this is my profile, will I give myself a scholarship? If in your mind you won't give yourself, then do what you should do to make sure that you yourself, you can give yourself. Then we can start having the conversation. So I don't know so much about your profile, so I cannot say you can get or you cannot get, right? But it totally depends on what your profile is and the value that you're bringing to the table at the end of the day. So Esther Randall says she cannot see the link to the profile assessment. So Titanial Services, please include the link to the profile assessment. What scores do you advise anyone to target in the GRE in order to get a scholarship? Like I said, there are no guarantees. I cannot tell you that this is what you will target to get this. I do not offer any certainties, any guarantees. Look at the profile of the GRE GMAT profile of the schools that you are interested in. Look at what their range is. Look at what their average is. Try to get around above the average if you can. Now check other parts of their profile, because schools are not giving scholarships just because of your test score. That would be very myopic. Scholarships are given on the overall profile that you are bringing to the table. So you're supposed to do that work, do that research by yourself. Talk to schools, talk to students, have like an understanding of what they have gotten. And like I always tell people, like the idea of people coming up with outrageous GRE scores like 340, 339. See, if you tell me that kind of score, I know that you did not write it by yourself. Like, don't even think about it. Like, don't. So I don't want an outrageous score. I'm not asking you to get an outrageous score, because schools now know those scores are outrageous and they know those scores are fake. So I'm not even interested in you getting those kind of scores, right? But you need to put in your own effort and look at, okay, what has the average been over the last 5 years? And then, as I said, improve other parts of your application, because I can't guarantee anything. So the MBA concentration in business schools work. Oh, well, MBA concentrations in business schools are very, very different. Every school has different MBA concentrations. There are some schools that don't even have concentrations. MBA concentration is basically from a learning perspective. For the first semester of your MBA, you do core courses. Everybody is going to do finance, accounting, analytics, data science. Everybody will do all of those courses. Everybody. Now, if you want to actually concentrate in some areas, you will not do more of those courses versus the others. But your MBA, your diploma, which is your certificate, what you call a certificate, has only MBA on it. That is for the United States. It only has Master of Business Administration. It does not have Master of Business Administration in any other thing. So you can spin it anyhow you want to spin it as a post-MBA candidate. Anyhow you want to spin it, you can spin it. I think I did more of finance in school, because of course I used to be a chartered accountant. But I got a job in marketing, and now I'm in technical product management. You can spin it anyhow you want to spin it. You're not going to have Master of Business Administration in something on your diploma. You're only going to have Master of Business Administration. Then okay. Okay, so yes, we have included the link to the free profile evaluation in the chat. So Esther that said she didn't get the link to the free profile evaluation, we have included that in the chat. And then also the link to the MBA Admits Bootcamp, if that's what you are interested in, we've also included it in the chat, right? Good. All right. Do we have any other questions? Because I think we're 5 minutes over time. Okay, awesome. So most people here, like if I was going to say, oh, I want to admit people or I want to give them scholarship, I already know the people that I will admit and give scholarship, because most people are not talking. So I'm just like, I will just pick a few people, Esther, who else, Bukola, Shewa, Bumi. It doesn't matter if the question that you've asked is a lot, but I can see people that are actually interested. So if you're going to be applying to schools and having webinars and workshops with these schools and you are not talking, is not working out in the right direction. That's the advice that I would give you. So you need to talk, you need to ask questions. We are almost at time. Akintunde, that will be the last question that we would take. So yeah, Akintunde.
How are you doing? Thanks, everyone. My question is around, just a minute. My question is around knowing how do we actually look for these scholarships strategically? Because I realize that there are a lot of scholarships that you might be aware of, and a scholarship that you might not actually be aware of. How do you get some kind of ideas of where these scholarships might be, who you can ask, who you can talk to? Because as from what I understand, some of these scholarships you might get to know about them a lot later, when maybe when it's a little too late. I've seen situations like that when some knowledge could have been key to getting scholarship if you had known about it earlier. So then, in strategic way, we can actually look around the net or maybe ask some people in some certain spaces about where we can get the scholarships from.
Yeah, well, actually, today I already mentioned for MBA scholarship, most of the scholarship applications are within your MBA application. You're not doing any extra thing. So we are not looking for any other thing. It's only the external scholarships. And for the external scholarships, it's up to you. You can just check. Yeah. So that's where we have like the TY Danjuma and the remaining external scholarships that are probably organizational based. But for every other scholarship that I have mentioned, it is within your MBA application mostly. So there's not really like when people say they already got admission, they're looking for scholarship after, that's not how it works. For most of the scholarship that would give you very significant funding, it comes through the school's channel. And that is based off of your application profile. And that's what I've been saying since. Like it's the structure is your application profile, right? The strength of your application vis-a-vis the profile of the remaining people in the class. And then that's what increases your chances. So that's why I've been talking about like, okay, how the school evaluates like your test scores, how they evaluate your admission interviews. You're not doing an extra application for that for most of the scholarships. For a few of them, yes, very, very few. But for most of the MBA scholarships, it is flown through the school, right? This is through the school for most of the MBA scholarships.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sorry, this is just a follow-up question on a little bit deviating a little bit. Can you post, or maybe I think all of this is on your site? Can you post your fees, your consulting fees, and all that? Can I find that on your website?
Yeah, you can. Or you can send us an email if the fees are not exactly stated there. I believe they're stated on the site right now, but yeah, it's on the site.
Okay, do that.
I believe so. Yeah. If you have any questions about that, then you can send me an email.
Okay, next.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you all. Thank you so much. We are 9 minutes over time. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and happy new week for everybody. Take care.
Thank
So
you.
TJ, TJ, why are you asking
Thank
a
you.
question when the class is over? What questions do you have, TJ?
Yes. Good. So my question is a bit if I would deviate a bit from what everybody has said, right? I don't plan to apply anytime for now because I'm trying to garner up my years of experience. I have undergraduate from chemistry, so I'm trying to garner up my